A lot of people, I think, they get out of the clinical role and they think, oh, what does the APTA have for me? This is your academy. This is where there is your people.
Welcome back to the PTA Plus podcast. I'm Katie Sutton, your host, where we explore stories and strategies that push our profession forward. Today, we are joined by a true powerhouse in physical therapy leadership, Susan Lukens, Director of Outpatient Rehab at UF Health in Gainesville, Florida. She oversees 14 clinics and multiple rehab disciplines, all while expanding services across the region. Still going, right? But her journey didn't start in the boardroom. It started outside, courtside, traveling with D1 athletes as a student athletic trainer, and grew into a 30-year career marked by mentorship, innovation, and a passion for leading and developing future leaders. You now serve as the chair of the leadership committee for the Academy of Leadership and Innovation, and faculty as LAMP leadership curriculum, teaching courses that are transforming how PTs and PTAs see themselves as leaders. We will talk about the why behind LAMP and what it means to find your people and how leadership doesn't have to come the hard way anymore. So you have a lot of information that you're going to give us about your leadership journey and how you're passionate about helping other rehab professionals find their leadership journey as well. So welcome to the show, Susan.
Thank you, Katie. Appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. So we're going to dive into a little bit of your background here, excuse me, and kind of what brought you to the whole leadership and innovation side and what brought you to the LAMP leadership and what has attracted you to that subset. So I'm excited to kind of hear a little bit more about where you came from, but you've built this really incredible career. You were a student athletic trainer. You got to do a lot of traveling. You and I were talking about that a little bit before we hit the go button, and what that looked like for you back in the day. And you were telling me you can't even do that now. So this was a really unique experience for you.
Right. Yeah. Back in the yeah, I'm tenured. We'll put it that way. Back in the late '80s, at the University of Colorado, student trainers, we didn't have the degree wasn't athletic training, but you got your hours in athletic training working as a student athletic trainer. We were in the training room every single day. We were at all the practices with all of the sports. We got to travel with the teams. One year I spent an incredible season. The first year we had D1 volleyball. I traveled with the very first D1 team at the University of Colorado, traveling with the girls. It was fantastic. And then I was able to go to two bowl games with the football team. My senior year, we went to the Orange Bowl. It was amazing. It was just an amazing way to get through college and be really connected with the teams. I really thought I wanted to be an athletic trainer. However, after watching and seeing, I saw that I spent all my time preventing injuries, preventing those injuries that led to the rehab side, which is what I really enjoyed doing more, which is why instead of going the athletic training career, I ended up going on to physical therapy school to do the treatment side instead of the prevention. And I ended up going to the University of Colorado Physical Therapy School. It kind of took me a different direction, but it was truly an amazing way to go through college and stay connected.
Yeah, definitely sounds like it. Now, looking back, what would you say were some of the key things that really kind of shaped your career in leadership and physical therapy? Looking back all those years now, was there any like turning point or any key point that you can think of?
Um, I think having gone through school that way, working, I mean, gosh, we worked way too many hours looking back now. I mean, I had to learn time management. I had to learn energy management. I had to learn, a lot of good communication skills. I mean, a lot of those things that self leadership I had to learn to get through and still graduate in 4 years working that many hours, that I think just learning how to lead myself and those college years doing that put me on the right path to become a leader later in my career as a physical therapist.
Yeah, and you talk about that a lot in some of the conversations that we had, and you give us some information before we hit the record button as well. But how you had to learn a lot of this yourself. There wasn't necessarily something there for you that really like set you on a leadership journey or gave you the tools and resources. You kind of made some of this yourself, and you kind of dug it up and found some of it yourself.
Yeah, when I got my first center manager position as a physical therapist, I think I'd only been out, gosh, a year and a half, 2 years maybe. So many times, therapist or any clinician, you get promoted to leadership position because you're a good clinician.
Hmm.
That doesn't mean you have the skills and attributes to be a good leader or manager. So, I got my first set of financials. I had no idea what I was doing. Luckily, my mother is is an accountant, a bookkeeper. So I called her. I'm like, help me with this. So she helped me a little bit with. My mother is an amazing woman. Helped me with some of those. Um, you found people who would help you learn these things. I found a
Hmm.
different manager to be, can you help me be, can you mentor me with this? When it came to hiring people and retaining employees, I found another manager who seemed to have the best retention and said, help me, how do you do this? You know, um, Again, aging myself, there wasn't an internet when I first started.
Yeah.
Came very quickly afterwards. I'm not that old.
Yeah.
So a lot of the stuff, you had to reach out to people. You had to get books. You had to get publications. To find how you navigate this.
Hmm.
There really wasn't a resource to really go to learn these things to survive in a
Hmm.
leadership role, to survive and thrive in that leadership role. You had to really go get it because it was
Yeah.
just, once you were there, you were expected to know all this.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I remember when the internet wasn't really a thing either. So I don't think that you have like aged yourself in any way because there was once upon a time. I mean, I am from also the 80s and the 90s. So
Okay, good, good.
yeah. So I think that it's interesting hearing about how you talk about the ways that you just kind of created your own paths. I talk about on my show a good bit how my me dipping my toes into leadership and into education was kind of same thing. I kind of created my own path. I didn't take a traditional pathway. I did things like I volunteered in our nursery at the church to build my resume. I used like my coaching experience in cheerleading to help build my resume because there wasn't a way for me to like get these skills otherwise. In the clinic that I was working, there wasn't really a ladder that I could take to kind of gain some of these skills. Anywhere I could, I would take it. But I had to like pick pieces from other parts to build these skills so that it was building my resume and building my career moving forward. And even though it had nothing to do with physical therapy, I still had these skills that I learned from piecing these things
And
together.
you know what? It's so funny you say that because when we do the coursework and they talk to some of the people at the beginning, and we have people introduce themselves, and a lot of them, they're just like, "Well, I'm not a leader yet." I don't like hearing that. So we talk about the big L and the little L. The big L is you've got it in your title. The little L is you really are a leader. And I find that most physical therapists, whether they have the big L title or the little L, they are all little L's. Most physical therapists end up being, and I'm in this too. I coached the soccer team. I was the head of the cheer mom booster club. I was the Girl Scout cookie mom. We have those skills. So we end up gravitating towards those without realizing why we're doing it.
Mhm.
It's because part of being physical therapists, we have those skills. They just need to be honed and practiced a little more. I mean, think about it as physical therapists. We're asking people to change their life habits. We're asking them to do some crazy exercises. Think about what we're asking people to do. We
Mhm.
are leading our patients to change. We are leading our students to learn. We lead committees. We lead, whether you have that director, manager, supervisor title, anybody in the physical therapy field, they're leading.
Mhm. Yeah. And
So it's
typically we're leading patients that are after a traumatic experience or
correct.
a
They're not at the
life-changing
best times
experience.
in their life.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah. So if you
right.
can lead somebody during that time, then you can certainly lead somebody that's on a good high in their life, right?
Correct. And that's kind of the first module in the very first course that I teach is, again, whether you have that big L title or not, you're here in the right place.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry to kind of jump around a little bit, but
No, no,
what you
no.
said is exactly right. It's interesting. If you look at all of those leadership positions, like in the community, many of them are rehab professionals, whether it be PT, OT, or speech, because it's part of what we do. It's part of what makes up that buildup of a good rehab professional.
Yeah, no, I love that. So let's dive into this a little bit deeper because another piece of conversation you and I were talking about was the fact that PTs, OTs, and speech language pathologists, and I'll even throw in PTAs and OTAs in there as well.
Yes,
We tend to either not be seen as C-suite individuals
correct.
or lack the opportunity for these types of jobs. So what's holding us back?
It's funny. I just had a wonderful conversation. Again, networking is the key, and I have a great connection with a PT who is now a COO of a healthcare system in South Florida, and I just wanted to reach out to him and say, okay, how did you make this leap?
Mhm.
How is it that you are able to do that, and how can I share that with some of the things that some of the groups that I teach with? And he said the hardest part is we we have these skills. We manage, he said, like, look at what you do, Susan. You manage multiple sites, you manage multiple specialties because I have PT, OT, speech, massage, cardiac rehab. So I have exercise physiologists, I have nurses, I have the fitness center. I manage across a continuum. He said, but many times what this, excuse me, it's allergy season.
I,
Um,
yeah,
many times
I get it.
many times what the C-suite, just what the stereotypical C-suite is nurses and physicians, and um, getting over that stereotypical bias, so to speak, is what holds us back. And the way this gentleman got through it was he ended up doing some different positions. He went back and got his MBA. He went and got a position where he was over in a smaller organization than what I am, and he did rehab from the entire system, from outpatient all the way to home health, acute care, home health, all of that. And then he was able to make that transition. But he said, honestly, he said, what I'm doing in outpatient is bigger than what he did across the continuum. So he said, really, it's that bias. We've got to get out there and show people what we can do. And I really think the board certifications that we're starting to work on with the education level that we do, and we just need to keep showing up. We need to keep doing what we're doing. And I really think in a few years' time, we'll get there. We're just knocking at the door.
Yeah, yeah. So let's break this down a little bit. So I keep referring to the Academy of Leadership and
Yeah,
Innovation as Ally because it's just so much easier to say
yeah,
that.
it is
So
easier.
that's what I mean when I'm saying Ally. But so Ally offers some of these board certifications.
Correct.
And this is really exciting to me as a physical therapist
Yes.
assistant. And I had the wonderful opportunity to talk to Russell a couple of episodes ago about some of the board
Amazing.
certification. I just adore Russell. So if you haven't listened to that episode, go back and listen to it because it's very helpful. But Ally offers these two board certifications, and PTAs can take these as
Correct.
well. And this is something that a lot of PTAs have this mindset that they can't do
Oh,
X,
no,
Y, and
PTAs are
Z. And
great leaders.
we're
Yeah,
trying to like bust some of those myths and whatnot. So tell us a little bit about these. You have the board certification for healthcare executives, correct?
Correct. Let me start at the very top. So there's
Okay.
the American Physical Therapy Association, and there are different academies. Again, just make sure everybody understands. And there's the academies for people that are going the clinical track. So, the sports academy, the neuro academy. But for those of us that are going more non-clinical, there's the Academy of Leadership and Innovation, Ally. And one section of that is LAMP, which is leadership, advocacy, and management and practice. And so the two sections of LAMP are leadership and management. Now, there's a lot of other sections in there: global health, pride. I'm not going to get all of education. There's a lot of other sections. You can go to the Academy of Leadership and Innovation website and see all the different amazing non-clinical things that we support. But on the leadership and management side, I'm the chair of the leadership, Russell is chair of the management. And what we do is we provide education for those leaders that want to go to that next step, or that already have and just need that extra piece of how do I handle conflict on my team, or then you'd go to the leadership side, or how do I build a pro forma? How do I know if my clinic is profitable?
Mm-hmm.
Those pieces are on the management side, which I'm sure, Russell's podcast was amazing, and he kind of explained that. Both board certifications are a 3-tier program, where on the management side, you take two pieces of coursework, and then you take an exam. The leadership side programming is a little bit different. So it is 3 courses, and ours is a board certification in applied leadership. So first you take LAMP 101, which is really figuring out who you are as a leader. And this is kind of what I talked about. I started really learning in college. You figure out, what is your best style of time management, of energy management, of what is your natural tendency to deal with conflict. And how can you adjust that depending on the situation? First, you have to be aware of what your natural tendency is to be able to adjust it. What is your tendency for communication? What is how do your generational tendencies, where you come from, how does that affect how you maybe communicate with the new generation coming into your clinic? Again, those aren't hard and fast things, but you need to be aware of some of that. How do you make decisions? How do you deal with failure? How do you deal with change? It's all about your natural tendencies and understanding yourself best in those situations. And then LAMP 201 takes all those things you learned about yourself and realizing all the different selves out there, so to speak. How do you lead a team of all these different types of individuals? Because you can't hire a team that's all just like you. Mm-hmm. You wouldn't get anywhere, no. Right? Yeah. So your team of disparate personality types, people that deal with conflict differently, people that have different energy levels, time management, how do you lead that team effectively? Is just, I love 201, because all of a sudden I start getting emails back. Hey, I used that technique at my team meeting, and I finally got, Joe to talk at a meeting where he never has before, or, those types of things. And then, so those are both 2-day courses that we do on the weekends. And then 301 is a new 15-week, which I know that sounds a little bit long. We just did our soft launch this summer. This is brand new curriculum. So I say 15-week. Now we have our soft launch. We handpicked participants, and they're going to give us a whole bunch of breakdown. They just had our last thing last night. So it may adjust a little bit before we roll out our hard launch after CSM in the spring, where it's a lot of self-study and self-reflection. One of our participants said, wow, 301 is taking everything you learned and really doing a deep dive into what you learned, and then how you can apply it. It's reviewing what you learned and really taking it to, is there a situation going on now in your workplace that you can apply it to. And and then how did you do with that, and do a case study. And it's been, I can say it's been a very emotional 15 weeks. People have really come to some amazing aha moments. It's just been fantastic. And at the end of it, everybody did what we Kristen is amazing on our committee. Kristen named them torch talks, because
Ooh,
we're lamp,
yeah,
get it, kind of torch. They're like
yeah,
a TED style talk where they talked about their journey over the 15 weeks and how they've grown and how they will continue to grow throughout that. So,
yeah,
um, many people, the way they described it was really just life changing over
yeah.
this summer that we've done that. And again, you can go through it and get a certificate of completion. It's kind of hard to do. Um, it is a lot of work, and you have to complete it at a certain level, and it's graded by members of our committee who are in academia.
Okay.
And we've sent some assignments back to redo and really dig deeper. So but we didn't stop you if you didn't do it, if you didn't redo the work, right?
Hmm.
So you can get a certificate of completion, or if you really go back and redo and get it and you complete it at this upper level, then you can get the board certification in applied leadership. Sorry,
So
that was
then,
really long, but I'm so excited
no,
about this new product that we're
no, I
doing.
think it's great for people to really like peel some of the layers back on this and discover exactly what they might be getting themselves into and what kind of benefits that they're going to have from this. I think it's interesting that you said that there were like that it was emotional. I mean,
Yeah.
everything we do is connected to our emotions. And I know that,
Oh, you froze
there's a
on
lot
me
of
a
people
little
who are like,
bit.
you got to remove emotions from your leadership and whatnot, but we are who we are. And the things that we deal with, I mean, when we're working career individuals, we make connections, we make
Yeah.
friendships, we make all these pathways, and there is emotion attached to that, right? Whether you want it to be or not. I mean, I've left positions before in the past where although I knew it was time for me to leave, it was emotional leaving because it was a part of
Yeah.
my journey. It was a
Yeah.
piece of what made me who I was.
Yeah. That's another thing about our coursework is we have had many people, and we're looking to do a study of this, many people after going through 101, discovering who you are as a leader. We've had a lot of people at the end of that course say, I'm not in the right job.
Wow.
Wow, but based on who I am, this may not be the right fit for me.
Hmm.
And we've had people, follow up with us afterwards and say, wow, based on what I learned there, I moved to, whatever, and I am so much more fulfilled.
Wow.
First you have
That's
to know yourself.
very
That's
interesting.
what I mean
Yeah.
by a lot of this stuff is it's really moving. And if you really are open, we make our courses are, you're really digging deep. And if you really do the work of digging deep to know who you are, it's kind of like what happens at lamp stays in lamp, so
Yeah.
you can be
Yeah.
really open. But it's an amazing process.
Yeah. Very transformational, huh?
Yes.
Yeah. So
And,
who's
and
a,
I always learn as much from what they share. I learn every time I teach.
I
It's
bet.
fantastic.
I bet. Who's a good fit for LAMP? Like who should consider taking LAMP as part of their professional development and journey?
Oh my gosh. I think anybody in rehab, really. I mean, and if that's who's listening to this, if you are someone who wants to better understand yourself, working with patients, working with students, if you think you may eventually want to move into a leadership role, um, just knowing yourself better um, in the um, in the crazy world of healthcare right now, which I can say right now, meaning my entire career.
There's always something crazy happening, right?
Yeah, there really is. Understanding yourself better and understanding your natural tendencies of energy management and time management and how you deal with conflict. If you can understand yourself better and then apply what you know to whatever work you're doing, you can be more fulfilled. That makes any sense.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
whether you're leading others or not, learning more about yourself in those areas as we do in 101 is
Never
so
a bad thing. Never,
never a bad thing. No.
never a bad thing. So does that, when you say anyone in rehab, or do you mean that is it locked to PTs and PTAs, or could an
Oh
occupational
no.
therapist?
No, we offer, like, I brought the course here to UF Health, and I opened it up to anybody in a rehab leadership. So we had PTs, OTs, SLPs. I also brought in, I have a great friend, Tom, who runs our respiratory therapy department. So respiratory therapists. I'm also been mentoring a friend of mine who's a nurse in the trauma team. So we had nurses from the trauma team. I brought some people from HR because I wanted them to see what we were doing. No, it is not closed. So yeah, anybody who wants to learn more about leadership, and especially that first one, learning who you are, is so important.
So where all do you offer these courses? Like, can anybody just sign up? Is there a special time of the year that you do this? Tell me a little bit more about where you can find the courses, how someone would attend these courses, and all of all of
Well,
those
right
details.
now is a great time to ask that question
Okay.
because combined sections meeting is coming up and registration is open. We're in Anaheim, California this year.
Hmm.
Um, we offer it as a pre-conference, both 101 and 201, which is, oh gosh, it's like the week of February 11th, I think, but whatever that week
Always
is.
around Valentine's Day.
Yeah,
Always.
my mom's birthday is February 13th, so I always miss her birthday. We celebrate later. But it's the Tuesday, Wednesday before the conference opens. And it's always one of our largest groups. So there's a lot of sharing. There's amazing interaction. That's the only time we offer it during the week. Because all of us
Mm-hmm.
faculty, it's volunteer. Otherwise, we do it on the weekends.
Okay.
And you can go on the Ally website and see where it's offered. We offer it two different ways. So organizations reach out to us and say, we either want to host or we want to have a sponsored course. Excuse me. And so it depends if they want to have a closed course or an open course, whether
Okay.
you can see it on the website and whether you can go to it or not. And that's the hardest part about finding that. But if you're part of an organization and you're thinking, wow, we've got lots of people that might want this,
Yeah.
on the website, there's the contact information. You can reach out and get to Heather, who is our person right now, and you can get to Heather or myself, and we can talk to you about how to bring it to your organization, bring it to your school. Um, it's we travel all over the place. I'm going to be going to Baltimore and outside of Chicago later this month. We've got other people going to Marquette. I
Yeah.
think I
Sounds like
go.
if organizations can be a little creative, you can work with them.
Correct. Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's wonderful. So, yeah, one of the reasons why we were very intentional about getting this set up was because we wanted to make sure that we let people know that they can take this at CSM. So, if
Yeah.
there's PTs, PTAs, or anybody who's looking into this, now's the time to start thinking about it and getting on that list for February, right?
Yeah. And it is just, again, CSM is just such an exciting time anyway. And the one thing I love about CSM is as I said, I learn as much from the audience as I think I give. But CSM is the one time where you get people from every part of the country, every type of practice. So you really learn so much, and you can get so much networking going to that course,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
versus one of the others. It's just I absolutely love the discussions and the breakouts that we get at CSM. It's really a
Yeah,
magical
I can
course.
imagine you're going to have a much diverse body of people who are going to be coming and attending that course versus if it's hosted at a organization. And not
Correct.
that there's anything wrong with that, but at CSM, you're going to get PTs and PTAs from all walks of life and all over the US. So that's really cool that you would get the
Well,
chance.
and we even had some people practicing outside of the U.S. last year.
Okay,
So
wonderful.
we even when we had the discussion about cultural differences, we had a really unique conversation.
Great. That's
Yeah.
wonderful. So, what do you think some of the biggest struggles that therapists are having today? And what ways do you think that LAMP can kind of help solve or address those for those therapists?
Well, some of the other things, really, I'm going to go a little bit higher on Ally. Is Ally offers webinars on different topics as well. So I would always say go look at what's available on there. There's a one of the most amazing. I'm going to do a little plug for Kristen. Kristen is doing a talk at CSM on some moral injury post COVID, and there was a webinar on it as well by some other folks. There's because we are the non-clinical section, we look at things a little bit differently that maybe a clinical section won't look at. You know, I saw Kristen do this course. You know, COVID came and went, and we just went back to the new normal, but we didn't really talk about how we recovered. And there's a lot of research around that. So there's coursework on that, how to make sure your teams are okay after that. And I wish I would have looked at the website, but we're doing research on. And here's where I didn't have enough coffee. There's lots of different.
Go
There's
ahead, drink up. I got mine here too.
okay. There's global health. So we're looking at healthcare across the globe, and how PTs are affecting healthcare across the globe, the social determinants of health, and how we can do better with those. There's more than just leadership and management on the Academy of Leadership and Innovation. And again, a lot of people, I think, they get out of the clinical role and they think, oh, what does the APTA have for me? This is your academy. This is where there is your people. I went to my first 101 in Colorado in February of 2020. Boy, I barely made it. And I really just went to get the information so I could bring it back and teach my own team. Little did I know how involved I was going to get, because I found my people.
Yeah.
And at the first break, I mean, I think we took a break at like an hour and a half or 2 hours. I went up to Beth, who was teaching, and I said, how do I become part of this? And I said, she said, wow. I mean, I may sound
You want
bold.
to wait until day two?
Yeah, I said, I know I sound bold, but I want to be a part
Mhm.
of this. And then at lunch, after we had some group sessions and we were sharing, and I had spoken up a lot, at lunch, she said, we're having lunch together because you need to be a part of this. So
Yeah.
again, it's for people who need to find their people. It's kind of amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna brag on Kristen a little bit too because
Yeah.
she's a fellow Ohioan of mine. And I guess I'm gonna just kind of put a plug in there for if you are going to CSM. I don't remember what the title of her talk is, but I think I am special because I got to participate in maybe what was like her pilot at
Well, she did it at the
Ohio's
Ohio
spring
State
conference.
Conference, and then
Yeah,
she
yeah.
just did it she and I spoke at the Washington State Conference, and it was so well
Yes.
received and so thought provoking about, wow, when we just moved
Yeah.
on.
We did. Yeah, we didn't think twice about we just kept everybody was so worried about getting back to normal. And I know we're kind of taking a little sidebar here, but I think it is important to kind of talk about how this changed us and how this developed us. I was working in clinical education at the time, and it wasn't until I was so concerned, and I actually talked to Kristen about this. I was so concerned about getting students their clinical hours and their clinical experiences that we were just moving, just trying to get them graduated, trying to get them through. That it wasn't until like after everything was said and done that I started to really like see how things shook out and how students missed big gaps.
Oh yeah.
So, it was whatever clinic would or could take them and they were coming out, and I might have had students that graduated that didn't see really important things
Right.
that they're going to have to treat, like rotator cuff injuries or a total knee replacement or
Right. And it
some of
was
those.
the employers who then did
Yeah.
the rest of that education.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, it's crazy. It's probably the least of the things that went really, really wrong with
Yeah.
COVID. But, I had to think about that as a clinical education leader. I was like, did I really do them a service? Did I do a good job doing that? But, I always used to
We did
say
what we
we were doing the best that we knew to do at that time. It was the best that we
Correct.
could offer. So, but her talk is going to be a great one. I promise you that. Kristen's a wonderful individual and has been a great mentor for me in Ohio. So
Right.
I
Yeah.
appreciate all that she does. Yeah,
Anyone go to CSM, look under the ally section, molar injury. I wish I knew the exact post-COVID.
I know.
Clean
Yeah.
walls, absolutely. It's just so thought-provoking because
Mhm.
we just moved on,
Mhm.
and anyway. But again,
Yeah.
and one of the wonderful things that Ally, the education and the research and things that we're doing, it's again, it's a wonderful,
Yeah.
wonderful place to be.
Yeah. So speaking of mentorship,
Yes.
what would you say to someone who would really like to be a mentor, but maybe they're a little bit afraid to do that? That's a scary thing, stepping out and being like, sure, come on, I'll mentor you. Because I think you said at the beginning, we all say to ourselves, I'm not a leader. I
Yeah.
don't lead. So what would you say to somebody who would like to take that step, but maybe is a little bit nervous about that?
Well, I guess the biggest thing that people make the mistake of when they think that I want to be a mentor is they think the work is all on you. The work is on the mentee. The mentee should come to you and say, I want to be better at X, Y, and Z. And they should set up find the time, have the agenda, and the mentor gives them guidance on, okay, so you want to be better at this. Here's where I think you should do some read. Here's some podcasts you should listen to. Here's what I want you to work on before we meet the next time, and then report back.
Hmm.
And then it's on the mentee to do the work. Come back to me if you have any issues in between, but then report back what you've done. Really, a mentor, other than having those things to tell them to do and give the feedback, the real work is on the mentee.
Hmm.
And that's usually the mistake that people make is the mentor thinks they're a teacher. There's a vast difference between a teacher and a mentor. A mentor is just guiding that mentee with what they are working on.
So we kind of need to shift our mindset about this. Are you willing to be mentored? If you're seeking mentorship, are you willing to do the work? Because
Correct.
someone might lead you to these resources, but if you're not willing to put the time, the energy, and the effort into digging deeper, it's not going to do you any good for someone to just set it in front of you.
Correct.
You
It's
have to
like
be
a
willing to
coach.
step.
A coach will take you and you'll do this, 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 and this. The coach is teaching you that skill and teaching you how to do that skill. The mentor is telling you, go watch this video about how to improve your swing or whatever, taking it back to athletics. But the mentor is not doing the work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of places to find mentors and to get mentorship, this connects into the whole networking piece, right? So you talked a lot about finding your people. So in what ways has being a part of Ally and APTA more broadly, how has that affected your own leadership journey? And why is that community so important for us as individuals to grow ourselves professionally?
Oh my goodness. For me, it's been just so amazing to have people that I can just share with and people that have the same experience. In my position, I'm the director of outpatient. There's an inpatient
The
director.
that means you're it.
Yeah, so there's an inpatient director, and she and I are very close, although she retired, and now I have a new one who I dearly love. But it's not the same things
Mhm.
necessarily. So to have this across the country, people with the same concerns, with the same challenges, with the, just people to run things by.
Mhm.
And when you're struggling with something, to have these people that you can reach out to, that understand you and support you. It's really it's strange because I really feel like some of my best friends are all across the country,
Mhm.
and
Oh
then
yeah.
at CSM is when we get to see them. Um, it's yeah. When we have our monthly committee calls,
Mhm.
and I get off that call and it's at
Mhm.
night, and I'm like just jazzed up because I've just filled my cup.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, it's
Uh-huh.
yeah,
I
it's
like to think of my closest network of friends that are through physical therapy is kind of like my crazy idea filter. Because I'm not afraid to tell them things. So I'll be like, I got this crazy idea, or I got this thought. What do you
yeah,
think? And so it's kind of a nice way that you can filter through. And if they're really that good of a close friend, they're gonna be like, that's you probably had to rethink that. Maybe
exactly.
don't do that quite yet,
Yeah,
and that's okay. We have to be truthful with each other sometimes too, right? We gotta make sure we're saying, hey, you might want to pump the brakes on that a little bit. But yeah, I think that it's nice to have that group of people that you can send things to, ideas and problems, and see if you can help solve each other's issues to some extent professionally, anyways.
right, right.
But yeah, I think it's a
And you
great
don't
feeling
want to
to
come
know.
into your workplace. I mean, you need to be authentic, but you can't come in at your and show your when you've had your weakest moment. You know what I mean? There's just some
Yeah,
things you can't, but you can call up your layup buddies
yeah,
and say, "Wow, I need some support today."
yeah,
And then you say call one, and then your phone is just flooded with, "I got your back. You
yeah,
can do this." It's just it's amazing.
yeah. Now, when you started into this whole leadership journey, you said you were actually kind of shy, right? So,
I was a
um,
shy kid, even kind of all the way up through high school, and then yeah, towards college. Yeah,
but to think like that, if you were in that mentality that you were shy, or if that's how maybe people that were close to you saw you as more shy or quiet, but now you're like leading conference talks and TED Talk style type things, and you're teaching in the ally programs and the LAMP leadership programs. Like, how did that personal transformation take place? Because I think this is also something that I hear a lot from students is they're afraid to speak in front of people. And I mean, it's not comfortable talking in front of
no,
people. It's never something that I think you actually get used to. But there's something about like if you just keep doing it, it gets easier.
right. It does, and I guess so I had two strong qualities as a child. I was very shy, and I was very competitive because I have two older brothers, and I always wanted to keep up with them. And I think at some point I just realized that if I didn't do something about the shyness, I was going to lose out on things. If that makes any sense. So the
Hmm.
competitive
Makes perfect sense.
went out, and and then in um, somebody wise told me once, if you've been asked to speak, you probably have something to say that they want to hear.
I like it.
Whether you have the confidence in it or not, they've asked you to speak.
Hmm.
So go out and speak.
Yeah.
You,
Hmm.
you know what I mean? And just different things over time that I kind of think about is, one of my favorite movies. We Bought a Zoo. Have you seen that movie?
I have not. I've heard of it, but I have not.
There's a thing in there where it says just, I think, I can't even remember the exact number of seconds, but like 60 seconds. Just be brave for 60 seconds. You
Mm.
know,
Hmm.
just get out there and just be brave for 60 seconds and just that first bit and just keep going. Um, you just, I mean, I used to be the kid that didn't want to try anything new if I couldn't be good at it the first time. Well, then you miss out on a lot of things.
None of us are ever good at
I
anything.
know I was a ridiculous child. So yeah, it just became, you're gonna, if you don't get over that, you're gonna miss out. I mean, if I wouldn't have gotten over that, I would never be doing what I'm doing now. And which is easy to say on this end of it, but you just got to get out there and try.
Just got to get out there and
You
try.
have
I
to
say
get out
that a
there and
lot on the show. Like,
try.
just hit the start button. I
Hit
mean,
the start button.
yeah, I mean, I'm not a professionally trained podcaster. Like, there's a lot of things that I do wrong, but sometimes I get it right. Or sometimes I get it right with the guest that's on the show, and we just have a really high quality show, but it's not like I knew what I was doing. I just figured it out, right? With
Yeah,
mentorship and with help from other people, I figured it out. But yeah, I mean, nothing we hit the start button on the first time is actually like super amazing, but you got to be willing to kind of work through that process.
exactly. You got to put yourself out there. You got to dip your toe in the water.
Yeah, definitely. So, for the audience who is listening and who's thinking, you know what, LAMP sounds like something that I'm really interested in, I would like to find out more information. What are some of the next steps that they can take to look for LAMP? Where can they find information? How can they get involved?
So if you go to the Academy of Leadership and Innovation, search that on you can get to our website really easily, and there's a whole bunch of information on there. You can find, when you go into the sections, you can look at the different sections. Global health and LAMP is one of them. You can find, there's all sorts of places to click that you want to get information. I would really recommend you just look all around the website, click for more information, and be happy to reach out to you.
So, why is now the important time for people to get involved in leadership growth?
Because you'll kick yourself next year if you haven't. Well, and,
Yep.
and the other thing is, I get a lot of people saying, "Oh, 101, that's for young professionals. I've been doing this a long time." And every time I hear that, I say, "Go." I went when I'd been a leader for over 25 years. It's for everybody who wants to learn. Lifelong learning is one of my biggest values. So it doesn't matter whether you're a student. Students can learn from this. I always am very impressed when I get a student or a brand new grad. Or if you've been doing this, I mean, Russell went last year.
Hmm.
And, it doesn't matter how long you've been out.
Yeah.
You're going to get something out of this.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So, where can people get a hold of you? How can they reach out to you, Susan Lukens?
I am on LinkedIn. That's
Great. Love
best.
it. Love LinkedIn.
Yep. Reach out to me on LinkedIn. I will love to connect with anybody. I was just on a leadership webinar yesterday, and in the chat, everyone's like, "Hey, I'd love to connect." And we just all started putting our LinkedIn's on there, and a lot of good people.
Great. So, can you help us wrap up this episode by giving the audience your plus points? Like, what's your call to action? I told you earlier, I'm like, this is your chance to start a fire. So, if you want to start a fire, you can go ahead. It's your platform. It's all yours.
Okay. Well, I guess if my two big things that I really tell everybody, if you're going to do two things, be a lifelong learner. I said that. Um, Lifelong learning. I was on a webinar yesterday. I have a book club going. I'm halfway through my MHA, even though just for fun. I don't need
You're
it.
busy.
Lifelong learning, because don't get stagnant. And the other thing I'm really talking to a lot of people about is give grace. You
Mm,
never know where the other person is coming from. I think it's something that as clinicians we do better for our patients than we do for our colleagues. We realize that our patients aren't coming in on their best day. We need to have the same grace for our colleagues, because assume positive intent. We don't always know what's going on. So right now, those are the two things that I'm trying to impart onto my team. I usually have a couple different things that I'm working on, but right now it's lifelong learning and give some grace.
yeah, I love it. Couldn't say it better myself. Lifelong learning is embedded to our values. It's embedded in our ethical standards for the profession. So it's definitely something that we should take serious. And I think to me, I think that lifelong learning is the key to battling burnout. You hear so
Oh,
much talk about burnout, and I keep thinking to
yeah,
myself, if we could harness all the benefits of learning and continuous changing of yourself and evolving, I think that we could really solve some of those burnout solutions. But you got to get to it first. You got to like
exactly.
dive in a little bit. And I can't thank you enough for reminding us to give each other grace. I think that's a wonderful plus point.
Thanks.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for your time, Susan. I appreciate you coming onto the podcast and sharing all of your wonderful knowledge about the Academy of Leadership and Innovation. If you're not familiar with it, go check it out. It's a wonderful academy in APTA. And to also talk to us about LAMP leadership, I have not taken LAMP leadership yet, but I am ready to like sign up and get going. So this is something that's been on my professional radar for a long time. So maybe I'll see somebody from the audience in the next LAMP leadership course.
Sounds wonderful. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you, Susan.
Thanks for listening to PTA Plus, the podcast for PTAs by PTAs. Subscribe, follow us on social, and share the show. Elevate yourself. This show is for educational purposes only. No clinical decision-making should be made from its content. See you next time.